Mr. Manish Tewari, Congress leader and lawyer, also joins us on the show. Mr. Tewari, thank you for taking up the time and speaking with NewsX. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Mr. Tewari, your first impressions of this budget, before I get into specifics, what are your general impressions of the budget that was read out in the Parliament today?
Well, there is a English proverb, and it goes as such that the tail wags the dog. So therefore, you had political compulsions written all over the budget. In fact, I think this budget is the first manifestation of the realities of coalition politics for the BJP government. I was struck by the fact that for the past 10 years, there seemed to be no love lost for either Andhra Pradesh or Bihar. And suddenly, the pot of love was overflowing in terms of the largesse and the bounty which was being distributed to both these states. So if there is a political message out of this budget, the political message is that this is a coalition government and the compulsions of coalition are going to dictate the economic priorities of the government.
Mr. Tewari, apart from the obvious observation that you have had about the coalition angle, are there any other positive takeaways from this budget?
Well, what really worries me, first of all, the budget is an income and expenditure statement of the government. And it's an annual opportunity for the finance minister to grandstand on everything from motherhood to apple pie. The budget is a non-event in most democracies around the world. Unfortunately, it's the most hyped up event for reasons that I failed to understand over a large number of years. It may be connected with TRPs and revenue, but I'm not going down that street. The fact is that what is really worrisome about this budget is that we are hovering in the deficit region of about 16 to 17 lakh crores for the last 3 or 4 years. Now, it was understandable in the years or the year after COVID-19 or the second year after COVID-19 that it would take some time for the government revenues to recover. But the fact is that even in 24-25, if your expenditure is going to be in the range of about 48 lakh crores and your revenue is in the range of about 31 lakh 29,200 crores, there is a worry. And the worry is primarily because if you look at it in a larger perspective, over the past 10 years, the national debt has increased by 113 lakh crores. It's gone up from about 55 lakh crores to about 169 lakh crores insofar as the current fiscal is concerned. And in fact, I had asked this question of the government yesterday also, and there's an unstarred reply, that is government borrowing in order to finance its revenue expenditure, which seems to be the case because essentially if government was borrowing, and good prudence says that you borrow in order to finance capital expenditure. And there does not seem to be a tangible linkage between the borrowings of the government and the amount that it has spent on public capital expenditure, though of course they've been financing the growth of the economy for the past 3 years out of public capex because the private sector has not kicked in, despite the fact that the finance minister gave them a huge tax relief in 2019-20 in a series of mini budgets, which actually brought down the effective corporate income tax rate from about 30% or 33% to about 22%, right? So eventually you have a situation whereby the fisc is a problem. Number two, stubborn headline inflation, especially food inflation, is a problem. There is no clear, tangible path to where the employment generation is going to come from. All these skilling announcements is like the announcement which had been made that we'll generate 2 crore new jobs every year way back in 2014. So, like the 20 crore jobs vanished into the thin air, like the gypsy camp vanished into the blue. Similarly, these are only statements of intent. Ultimately, if you expect the corporate sector to follow through on them, well, the corporate sector never followed through, never did follow through on the huge tax rebates which were given to them, which you thought is going to actually start the wheels of the economy turning again.
Mr. Tewari, what about the GDP? The government is obviously happy about the fact that it's been twice the average of the global GDP, and that is putting India in a bright spot. If you compare the rest of the world, what do you have to make of that? And this is a number, sir, which has been consistent.
See, ultimately, there are, you change the baseline, you will always get a new GDP number. So therefore, when you change the baseline from 2004-5 to 2010-11, obviously, you adjusted your GDP number. But essentially, GDP is not a reflection on the improvement of the quality of life of people. And I'll give you an example. In the past 10 years, the allocations on Manrega have gone up by 300%. It was in the range of 28,000 crores in 2013-14. It's currently in the range of about 86,000 to 90,000 crores, which means that in rural India, people are willing to work at the minimum wage rate, which is possibly the most telling evidence of very, very severe rural distress in our agrarian or rural economy. So the GDP number does not tell the story about the improvement in the quality of lives of people. I think too much is made out of this whole number. Essentially, at the end of the day, you see, every economy has a natural trajectory. Every economy will go from 2 trillion to 2.5 trillion to 3 trillion to 3.5 trillion. That's a natural progression of the economy. Question is not that you have a $3 trillion economy. The question is that how many years did it take you to get there? Weren't we supposed to be a $5 trillion economy by the year 24-25? Why are we hovering in the range of 3.8 trillion? So I think once you start desegregating the budget numbers and start looking at it in some great depth, which we would do if I continue to be on the Standing Committee of Finance, then you really start getting a real picture of how badly or well the economy is performing.
Mr. Tewari, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us at such short notice. Really appreciate you joining us, sir.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.